Nobody's listening, right? Hi, Andy.
Hello.
Is anybody listening?
Yes, they are. From Kylie. I'm listening to every single episode.
I love that. Now, I want to limit we're going to just pick one review a week because I was starting to get the ick.
Tell me why. Tell me
from
more.
us.
Tell me more.
I feel like the point of saying these reviews is to give gratitude to our listeners and also let everyone know how much the reviews and the ratings mean to us, which is very true. But when we're spending like 8 minutes at the top, essentially just like
bathing, basking,
masturbating to our
masturbating. Yes. Well, it also was a device right when we started the show.
Yeah.
Rebooted. Well, this is a new show, but we've had many podcasts in the past. Mm-hmm. But we didn't know if anybody was listening. So it was also a device. We didn't have a social media account for this.
We assumed no one was.
So we thought the best way people could let us know was through iTunes reviews, which really helps us out, by the way.
Yeah.
But now you're getting the ick, and I think I understand the ick that you're getting.
Yeah. So I think let's limit it to one. And I also wanted to say I know this week have some new listeners thanks to your appearance on Armchair Anonymous.
Can I just read one more review?
Okay. Jesus
from Harumi. I'm listening. I heard Andy on Armchair Anonymous.
Oh.
And he was so funny and sincere. Boy, do you know how to buoy a guy's spirits.
You really were. It was such a great segment. I love that show. If anyone hasn't heard it, check it out. Andy went on the episode where they're sharing horror pet sitting stories.
Yeah.
And I know that we have had a little bump in listeners. And I just want to say what our show is. And I feel like I should say this at the top of every show. You're about to hear two people talking about what they would talk about just in life if no one was listening. That's the kind of concept of the show.
Yep.
It might be, as Eckhart Tolle says, excruciatingly boring.
Yeah.
Or it might not be. We never know.
We don't know.
We never know. But what I will say is I think today is going to be very fun because
I have a lot to catch you up on.
I mean, I have a lot too. This is what we should do. If we ever feel like we're in that, the thing we talked about, going to therapy and being like, I have nothing really to talk about.
Yeah.
One of us just needs to go out of town for a few days because I feel like you and I have 10 episodes worth of things that we're dying to talk to each other about.
Dying.
Because I was gone for a week and then you were gone for 3 days. So this is kind of
4 days.
4 days. It felt like a hop, skip, and a jump. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if you could tell. I feel having the 3 days with the kids was actually great because I'm now kind of on the other side of my job, and it felt like real good kid mom
like you
time.
were super momming it, yeah.
But I was kind of super momming it a little bit,
yeah,
and wanting to make sure it was great. And they were so awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, they were so much fun to be with. Everyone was in a good mood the whole time. But today, now that you're here, and I'm like, okay, I just feel kind of a decompression happening where I'm
yeah, because we had our back-to-back trips. Now we're decompressing, but also I feel like it's going to go off the rails today because we are both back, and it's like a President's Day. No one's at school. Anyways, so after this show, all hell's gonna probably come to fruition, probably.
And I might at that time just retreat to the bedroom and close the door and read my O Magazine Quarterly, which
they're only putting it out quarterly now?
Well, I am in shock, and I honestly feel betrayed. A loyal Oprah fan, as you know. Oprah is my everything.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Oprah in years, actually. I didn't know you were still... I guess you're ride or die, I guess, if you're with Oprah. Oh,
yes. Anything and everything Oprah. And her magazine was such a source of pleasure for me. Once a month it would come.
Yeah.
When it wrapped in 2019, right before the pandemic, I was devastated. I mean, the last I want to say episode, but that's not right. The last,
edition?
yeah,
I don't even know if that's it. The last
printing. What's the word I'm looking for?
issue.
Issue. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Was, I believe, December 2019.
Oh, God. I don't know why this is giving me the ick for some reason.
What?
I don't know why, but you knowing this much about Oprah Magazine is giving me the
Well,
ick.
it was a true sadness. I was losing something that brought me a lot of joy, but I understood she's busy. She's got this empire. She's growing older. She should relax. So I'm at the airport in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And I see an O magazine. And I'm like, what the fuck? First of all, I'm like, oh my gosh. It was like coming home.
Yeah.
And then I find out this thing has been being put out quarterly and I haven't been getting it.
Well, your subscription was probably over. You were a subscriber,
But
right?
it was like advertised. This is the last issue of this magazine. We're closing down shop.
Have you looked into this? Like when they
No.
rebooted or whatnot?
No, I haven't.
But it's back.
It's back, baby.
And it's quarterly.
Yes.
And how do you feel about it?
I have to say, so I got that and I got a few other magazines I'm not going to say because I don't want to disparage them.
Is it the same thickness as the old monthlies?
Yes.
So they're not really giving, they're half-assing it, sort of.
No. You know what? It's all quality. Yesterday, like, our daughter got into bed next to me. She was reading and I was looking at these magazines and I was looking at the other magazine. I was like, oh, it's fine.
Was it like Simply Home or some bullshit?
Then I get it.
I want you to shit on the other magazine.
No, I'm not.
Do it.
No, I'm not going to.
Why? Do it.
Well,
It wasn't quite up to the par of
It
Oprah's
wasn't.
quarterly magazine, and that magazine's name was...
I think it was Better Homes and Gardens.
I know you're lying right now. I know you're lying right now. Wait, do you know someone that works for the magazine? No. Are you worried a listener works for the magazine? And also, you think Better Homes and Gardens is so shitty that was the one you pulled out of your brain that you're like, well, this won't offend anybody if I say Better Homes and Garden.
Here's the truth.
And I'm right? You're lying.
Well,
Are you lying?
I wasn't 100%. But
Just say you were lying.
Andy, at the airport, I bought O Quarterly, I bought Better Homes and Gardens, and then I bought another magazine. And I don't remember what that magazine is.
This is so lame. And like, I'm so disappointed in you. I hope our listeners are disappointed in you. What a phony you became when you went to Canada and came back a phony.
No.
Wow.
No, I don't remember what it is. It's on my nightstand. Like, if you want to go get it.
Whatever. Let's keep pushing
anyway,
forward.
Oh, magazine's back. I don't even know. We're wasting time. We have better things to talk about.
You're wasting time. For those of watching the video of this, Elizabeth was just motioning me to put the clock in. I can't reach the clock right now.
Okay, it's fine.
I'm going to look at my watch.
Okay.
I'm good. Anyways, you're back. Oprah Magazine's back. You're a liar. What else is new?
Oh, a few things I want to say.
Yeah.
I meant to say at the top. Thank you to everyone who signed up for Patreon. Speaking of the video, you have been posting our full-length videos there lately, and it seems like it's mixed reviews. But a few things that are happening on Patreon that I'm very excited about.
Oh, okay.
One is a patron suggested that we do a Mario Kart-a-thon.
Yes. Now, we haven't talked about this yet.
Yeah.
My answer is 100% yes.
Yes.
I think the first edition of this, though, we're going to have to work out some kinks, but we'll announce on Patreon how we're going to do that. But we're going to do some sort of, see if we can play you guys on Mario Kart.
Yes,
thing.
Maybe a tiered thing or whatever.
Okay, this is where I want you to pump your brakes for the first.
I'm going to smoke all of your asses.
Okay,
What's happening.
We're going to figure it out. So if you want to be a part of round one, keep your eyes peeled on Patreon for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second of all, Andy and I are going to do a bonus half-hour episode where we only talk about Gunther's Millions because Andy has since watched Gunther's Millions.
Oh, yeah.
And so that will be posted in the next couple weeks, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, we'll put that up.
If you want to support the show, it's at patreon.com/totallylame, LAIME.
Yeah. There's
And-
also, we have a link tree on all of our social media sites that you can click, and that'll take you there too.
Great. Okay, carry on.
I don't even know where we were. I mean, I have a lot to tell you. I just got back home last night. There are things I have not told you at all.
And
Everything I'm about to tell you, I've not told you.
And you were visiting your family in Boise,
My
Idaho.
wonderful family, mom, dad, and brother
So fun.
in Boise,
And
Idaho.
niece.
And niece. I got to see my niece for one day when
Oh,
she
okay.
went out of town. Yeah, but that was very fun.
Great.
Where do I begin?
Start at the beginning.
Well, there's so much here that I'm just going to dive into a couple highlights.
Okay.
And the one that sticks out in my brain the most is my mother and my mother's eating habits.
Oh boy.
And this is
Wow, I
what-
feel like we're starting. Okay. Just knowing a little bit about the history of this, I feel like we are starting full throttle.
Here's where my mother has landed as an 80-year-old woman. Dinner.
Okay.
Okay. 1.5 bags of frozen broccoli.
Okay.
We'll circle back to the preparation. 1.5 bags of broccoli, frozen, with cottage cheese, red peppers like that you get at a pizzeria, flakes.
Oh, red pepper flakes.
Yep. With a side of, they're these like cauliflower Cheez-Its. Okay, crackers. How does she make the broccoli, Andy? I'll tell you. She puts all the broccoli in a big bowl, because it's 1.5 bags, and then straight into the microwave. And how long would you guess that you would need to microwave the broccoli?
I have no idea.
Frozen broccoli.
I
Do you
don't
want to take any guess? Because it really, I wasn't prepared for it, but then I don't know. There might be people listening right now that know the number.
I would assume, here's how I would do it.
Tell me.
I would probably do it for 5 minutes at like 60%. I feel like
Oh,
you don't want to go in all the way.
there are moments when I love you so much, and this is a moment. I never thought you were one to mess with the percentage of microwave power when you microwave. I do that all the time.
You do.
I thought you were 100% like power all the time.
I usually am. If
But
it's
you do sometimes adjust your power?
yes.
That really ticks some boxes for me, just so you know.
Good. Great.
Okay, so good guess. So you would maybe do 5 minutes, 60%, then check it, and then
Yeah.
what?
If it needs more, it needs more.
Goes in the microwave, 100% power, 15 minutes.
Oh, wow. 15 minutes.
Yes.
Does this broccoli come out like decimated? I mean, does it look like broccoli still?
I was crying laughing when I was like, how long do you put it in for? When she said 15 minutes, I've never heard of anything in the microwave for 15 minutes. It's like, I didn't know microwaves could go that long. It seemed absurd to me. Here's the silver lining. It totally works for 1.5 bags of frozen broccoli. I ate this broccoli every night. It seems okay, surprisingly.
Excuse me. Will you please delete that?
I don't want to now, but I will.
Please delete that cough, but don't delete all of the horrible.
Maybe I'll bleep it.
Anyway,
Wow. Okay. Just since we're kind of in silly land, right? We're not in silly land, sorry. Just since we're laughing, I want to tell you one of the crazier things. And then I want to talk about something serious, if that's okay, that I learned or learned or didn't learn.
sure.
Okay.
Learned or didn't learn.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
Let's stay silly for just a second.
Okay.
Okay. This is one of the craziest things I've ever heard. One of my parents' good friends, they have a Labrador. Great dog. Great dogs, if you have one. My brother has a Labrador. I fell in love with that dog this
Aw.
weekend. So sweet. Has really become the sweetest dog.
Oh God.
Now, I think my parents' generation, and I wonder if you remember this. When we were little, pooper scoopers were all the rage.
Yes.
Everyone had a pooper scooper. You'd carry your pooper scooper around.
And it's like a big fucking thing, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
At some point in time, I would say in the late 80s, early 90s, the bag approach to picking up dog poop started becoming more popular. And now I would say that's 95% of fecal cleanup.
Yeah, you almost never see a pooper scooper.
Especially if you're, with your solo dog. Listen, if you're working at a shelter, you got a shovel, a pooper scooper, whatever you need. But your pet, a bag. This guy, every time this Labrador poops, takes a paper plate and follows the dog around.
No. No.
With the paper plate.
Don't.
Yes. And has to, you can imagine, kneel down with the paper plate following the dog.
What the fuck?
And then the dog
poops
on the paper plate. So the poop never goes on the ground. They're outside, by the way. They're not inside doing this. They are outside.
This poor dog.
Then he takes the poop from the paper plate inside and flushes the poop in the toilet.
No.
And then discards the paper plate.
Does he recycle it?
I wouldn't think so.
Why? Can I ask how come?
This is what we know. This person, their background is doctor. And there's some sort of germ thing going on here, but it doesn't make sense because the dog's outside. I'm trying to figure it out myself. No, that's all we know is it's like a germ thing.
But a germ thing, it seems so much less sanitary in many ways.
Yes.
Or does he not okay, here's the follow-up question.
Please.
Is this him walking the dog out in the world in sidewalks? Or is this we're letting out the... We're letting the dog in our yard?
What I was laughing about was two things. One is just the idea of us driving around, and if we ever see someone walking their dog with a paper plate, how joyful that will be for us.
Yeah.
Two is what if we started the trend?
No, it doesn't make sense. Then you have to carry the poopy plate all the way back home.
Yes.
I mean, obviously you carry a bag of poop, but you tie that up.
You tie it up.
It's now, there's a barrier between the poop and the world that you're not getting with the paper plate. Is it a composting thing?
They're not, no, because it's going into the
By the way, also
toilet.
You're flushing, you're wasting all that toilet water for one poop.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it's he doesn't want the poop germs to land on the grass, which seems wild. And yet then you're carrying the poop through your house. Dog, this is a lab. A
big amount. It's a plate full.
A plate full of lab shit. Lab shit. That sounded weird to me, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
A plate full of lab shit. I don't care if you're just walking as fast as you can from the door to the bathroom.
Oh,
there's this odor with that.
And yes, and if we learned anything from Napoleon Dynamite, that odor is actually poop particles. So here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just the humiliation on behalf of the dog. How embarrassed the dog must be of this owner. Being this guy's crouching down, following me around with a fucking plate.
If you could, if you could be in the therapy session with that dog.
Yes.
Right? But I don't think it's on walks, to circle back to your question. I do think, from what I understand, they live and they have a nice yard. But there is some training, I think, involved with this, because otherwise you would just let the dog out and the dog would be pooping anywhere. That doesn't seem like an option for these folks.
I did
right?
see,
if you're going to that extent.
I feel like I saw a Instagram reel or something somewhat recently, and it was these people had put this like platform on their toilet, and the cat would
Oh,
jump
yeah.
up and pee in the toilet. And I was like, well, that's kind of genius,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Have you seen the cats pooping in the toilet?
no.
Great.
Okay.
So great. That I get. But paper plates. Isn't that nuts?
Wild.
Yeah.
People do all sorts of funny things.
Yeah. Okay, so do you want to get real for a minute?
I'm like,
I know, I'm just like throwing stuff at you, but I've been wanting to tell you so
I'm
much.
so on the brink of laughing that I fear that you're going to say something really serious, and then I'm going to like not be able to handle it. Okay, go ahead.
Growing up, we lived on a cool block in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And it was like a fun block. There was block parties.
Oh, that's
Did
fun.
you guys have block parties growing up?
No.
No, but that'd be where they would shut the block down, and big party in the streets. It was very cool. And hearing my parents talk about that era is very exciting too, because they were in their 20s and 30s, just starting their lives, and everyone on this block was in a similar position. And also, this was an era, obviously there was suburbia in many cities, but where they lived was still kind of city-ish. Like
Yeah,
it was,
totally.
it was a proper block with
it's an
brick houses
urban
and stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's city for sure.
So they were reminiscing about a lot of those times. Now, my brother and I, there's an age difference between us. He's 9 years older than me. So they lived on that block for a while. I can remember the block parties, but as I was a little kid, we're starting to get to kind of the end of that era, right? Of the like fun of the block. But we still knew our neighbors and everything like that.
Okay.
So I knew the lady that lived right across the street.
Yeah.
To the right of that house were some kids I played with. A couple houses down from that were like the weird professor kids, right? Like across the street from that was the pilot who my friend Pat walked their dog. Mm-hmm. We know the neighborhood. Now my parents know the neighborhood intimately, and they're reminiscing on all these stories, naming all these people, and just telling all this stuff. And you may know, we've talked about this, I have carried with me this weird feeling about a house not directly across the street from mine, but like one to the left over. Yeah. And I've just carried this feeling that something bad happened to me at that house. I don't know exactly what it is.
Right.
Whenever I think of this house, I think of it that it was like this one woman that lived there alone. That in my mind.
I thought it was a man.
Nope, it's a woman.
Okay.
And I don't know what the bad thing is, but it does to me feel like some sort of traumatic thing that I've sort of blocked out, but also vaguely have memories of like always having dreams about it as a kid.
Oh, God.
But I have a weird feeling about this house. That's really kind of all I have to say about that. So that's always in my mind, but you need to know that for this story. So they're reminiscing about the old days, and they start going into detail about people that lived on the block that like I'd never heard them going into this detail. And so my mind immediately is like, this is my opportunity to ask about this
woman
house.
Yes.
So I ask, hey, remember the house across the street but to the left? Mm-hmm. Like, who lived there? Oh, that's where the Smiths lived. And then after that, the Daniels lived. And like, you remember the Daniels. And I'm like, I do remember the Daniels. And listeners and you are thinking like, oh, it was the Daniels, Andy. Like, what maybe happened with the Daniels?
Well, but I'm also like, if it was one person, you wouldn't say the Daniels.
Correct. So initially I hear the Daniels. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Could it have been Mrs. Daniels that I'm thinking of? But I'm like, no, because I have so many memories of Mrs. Daniels.
Oh, okay.
But in addition, I have so many memories of Mrs. Daniels that I'm like, hey guys, I don't think Mrs. Daniels lived there when I was born. And they were like, oh yeah, well, they moved. And because I can remember going to their other house, multiple other of their houses.
Okay.
So I'm like, so who moved in after the Daniels? Like, we don't know. And I'm like, okay, that's fishy. Then they proceed to keep telling these stories of all these other people in the neighborhood. And I'm telling you, every single house adjacent. My dad starts mentioning, remember the guy with the Dalmatian dog? All of these crazy details. And I'm like going out of my mind. And so I keep bringing it up. And it's like kind of funny. I'm like, but you don't remember the person that moved in? But you keep telling all these other stories. I'm looking over at my niece who's looking at me like she is with me, giving me a look like, this is fucked up.
Now, wait, hang on just a second.
Yeah.
Because have you said, because I have a bad feeling?
Yes.
Okay.
I've said that by this point in the conversation, because first they were like, why? And I was like, I just have a bad feeling. They thought I meant like it was haunted or something. And I was like, no, honestly, I feel like something kind of bad happened to me. But I said as much as I've just said here to you, right? But
I mean,
they were being so weird about it.
And like almost avoiding that because I'm
Yes.
trying to fill the space with all the other stuff.
And my niece was validating me, like looking at me like, what?
Our 20-year-old niece.
Yeah, like
by
what
the way.
the fuck is going on? It seemed so absurd. And then they just kept going on about all of this history, crazy history of all these people and all these names over and over and over. But I'm like, who was the person right across the street and to the left?
Uh-huh.
And I got nothing. And I feel very empty and disappointed by it all.
Okay. I'm sorry to laugh, but I relate to that feeling right now because
If
I
you
didn't
fucking say you've got nothing from this story, I'm going to lose
No,
my mind.
I didn't get nothing from the story, but like it just definitely seemed like we were gonna I relate to the feeling. I thought we were gonna get some information. I thought, okay, do you think your parents do know something?
Okay, at first it kind of seemed so absurd that I'm like, I think they did. But then it got to the point where they're like, oh, well, I'm going to ask so-and-so, one of my mom's friends that lived on that block too. Like, I'm going to ask her if she remembers who lived there.
Here's the thing. If they truly have no recollection, this is what's interesting to me about this, and I understand your frustration.
Yeah.
And also my guess is that, like, if our adult child came to us and was like, what was that house? Something bad happened to me there. We would be like, oh my God, like, what was that? Like,
Yeah.
who was that? We'd stay on it for a long time and go like, you know, is there more you're not telling us? Like,
Yeah.
we want to know what this is. We want to be there for you. We want to help you process it. Where it sounds like your parents were just like on to the next thing.
Well, they did my mom kept bringing it up like, gosh, who did live in that house later?
Did they ask about what the bad thing was?
Yeah, a little bit. And again, I don't know.
But what I will say is also just knowing your parents and how they talk about things. Like, to me, if they truly don't know and don't remember,
Yeah.
and they're walking down memory lane, it doesn't seem that crazy to me that they're talking about all these other families. But I guess I was,
seemed
I wasn't
like,
there.
I'm trying to think of like, they seemed like experts on, it almost seemed like they were like, you know what, we have an ice cream shop and we know how to make every kind of ice cream. Like they were giving so much detail about all these different types of ice cream. And then I was like, yeah, but do you know how to make the chocolate ice cream? And they're like, chocolate ice cream, huh? No. Really? They have chocolate ice cream?
Yeah.
Like it really seemed that crazy, which then made me think like, oh, do you know? But I don't think they do know.
But there are people, we know a lot of people in our neighborhood, and there are people that like I've just never seen and I know
Yeah.
nothing about. And uh what I was wondering is like, have they blocked something out?
Well, yeah, that's where my head goes.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, I mean, I hear what you're just saying, but like how I was trying to like lay the land of the block parties and whatnot. This was a very intimate block where
And it
you're
was
also
like
how it's set
right
up. You're
there.
kind of nosy and like
Yeah.
these are houses that are closer and facing each other, and yeah. So I got nothing, but it only made things weirder for
Well,
me.
it does make things weirder if you think something bad happened to you there and they don't know this person at all. Like, they don't know what this is. And then it's like, how did you end up there even? Like, how did,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Like
Creepy.
I mean, it does make me want to like go find like house records or something
Yeah.
and like see if there's a name and then be like, hey, do you remember this name?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Are you scared about what it would bring up?
I mean, maybe, but also now at this point, I do know that someone lived in that house at least, that they don't know who it was. So I'm
Yeah.
not crazy in that regard because their friends lived there before.
The Daniels.
And then I have known those friends since they didn't live there.
Mm-hmm.
So I do know someone lived in that house. So I'm not crazy about that.
So they don't remember at all who moved into that house
Not at
after
all.
the Daniels left?
Not at all. Not at
Okay,
all.
that does seem sus, as our kids would say.
Yeah.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah.
If you have an across the street neighbor and your friends live there, I mean, well, like we have that.
Mm-hmm.
We have an across the street neighbor. Our very good friends live there.
Yeah.
They moved out. People moved in who we don't have
know.
any interaction with. However,
If you asked us,
I know enough.
we know enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
It almost validates your feeling.
If anyone knows the easiest way, I'm being completely serious,
Yeah.
of how you get those records of like house records from the 80s or 90s,
Mm-hmm.
because like, yeah, I don't think, like, just what's the name of the department that you go to find out who owned a house in the 80s or 90s? Slide into our DMs at Nobody's Listening Right on Instagram and just let me know.
Yeah.
Because like there's a name. I mean, someone out there's right like, oh yeah, it's called the this.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I will.
Find out who it was.
And then we'll have them on the show.
God.
Hey, so you might not remember me. We have a podcast now, and I was wondering if you'd come on our podcast.
Did something bad happen
to me?
to you? Is your sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask the question that everyone's wondering.
Mm.
Do you think that you were sexually abused?
It's possible.
Okay.
But I say that very, I feel like weird even saying that.
Yeah.
This is not a memory of like I was sexually abused.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a memory. Do you remember the house?
Not really.
Do you remember? You just have a feeling around seeing that house and
Not
the person.
seeing the house. I have a memory of being in the house.
You do.
Yeah.
Why the fuck were you in that house? That your
Right.
parents
Right.
don't know this person. How old were you, do you think?
I would guess like between 4 and 6.
What?
Or 3 and 6.
I mean, times were very different back then, but you do not have a 3 to 6-year-old in someone's house without knowing what the fuck is. I mean,
Right. But so here's the other thing though. That's why I'm being very careful with all of this, because there's also a world in which this was a house that was a mysterious house that I might have just had weird dreams about being at this house. But if so, it's like a recurring dream. The memory. Right?
yeah.
Okay. I feel like Now I feel like we're getting into weird territory, with too weird territory that I feel
Uncomfortable. Okay,
feel a
let's
little
move on.
uncomfortable about. Yeah.
Huh. All
I'm
right.
gonna search more though, I think.
Well, you have two mysteries now. You have this, which is on a slightly different level from the note on your car. It's just becoming a your life private investigator. Okay.
Yeah. I told you it was going to be kind of...
Yeah. Sorry that my reaction was laughing. It was just the way you told the story. I had the same sensation of like, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and when I was it started becoming funny this weekend, the whole saga of them remembering everything. Yeah.
Was there any other tea that they spilled about people that you found interesting?
I mean, I have so much more I could tell you about this visit, but is there anything that you want to share?
No, I mean, let's kind of... I do have a bunch of things to talk about.
Yeah.
I have a rant I'd like to go on at some point.
Today or not today?
No, I don't think it's a today thing, especially... I feel like, no.
Do you want to talk about religion for a second?
Well, it's really interesting you bring that up.
Tell me more.
This weekend, some men came into our gate. And...
Brothers, Mormon?
No, older. Like an older Caucasian man and an older Latinx man.
Okay.
And they came in and I like intercepted them. I was hanging out with the kids and I was just like, ugh, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
And the older man started his spiel, and I'm so glad I was not rude because I was at a fork in a road, and I could have gone out. I mean, as rude as I get, not like, but and been like, no solicitors, please.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I'm so glad I didn't because I came out. I was like, hi. And the man was like, hi, we wanted to talk to you about like if you could imagine a peaceful earth, blah, blah, blah. And oh, wait, no. First I come out, hi, thank God, because the other man was like, you left your keys in your gate.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like,
yes.
Thank you. Great.
And did they have them or did they let you take them out?
They let me take them out. So I went, oh wait, no. He took them out, but like I was coming over to get them.
He didn't have them in his hand and give them to you.
No.
Wow, that's an interesting social interaction with the keys and all.
Yeah,
like if I'm them, I'm stressed out.
Well, it was all sort of awkward. It really was. Like
yeah.
They're coming into a gate, you know, whatever. He kind of fumbled with the keys and then hands them to me.
Okay.
And I was like, thank God I wasn't rude. Thank God I was like, no solicitors. And they're like, well, your keys in the gate. Yeah. So then I get the keys and then I'm like turning and knowing like, okay, let's get this over with. And he starts about the peaceful earth. It does sound delightful.
What is the opening line exactly on that once?
We wanted to talk to you about like, if you would like to know what a peaceful earth in the future looks like. But it was said it wasn't said in a climate change way. It was distinctly a religious way. And I said, you know what? And also this was like on our pathway up to the house.
Are the kids around or no?
The kids are in the living room.
Okay.
I mean, after I came back, they were like, what was that? Because it was enough of a like...
Yeah.
I'm kind of doing do-si-do with them on the pathway up to the house because they're not sure yet if I'm going to be like, come on in or whatever. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not religious at all, but God bless.
No way.
Yes. And, you know, have a good day. And they were very respectful and were like, okay. Yeah. And then they turned to go and I'm now all the way back up at the door.
Yeah.
The gate is locked.
How is the gate locked?
Because when he took the keys out, he must have locked it.
He fiddled the thing or something.
So it was just like the most awkward.
That's awesome.
But I was like, great lesson. Like, thank God I did not come out with an attitude. It would have made it 1,000 times more awkward than how it went, which was everyone's being pleasant.
But even in that scenario, how does that go wrong? I think even in an attitude, you would just been like, no solicitors. And they would have just been like, here are your keys. And then you would have felt a little bad. And then
they
would
have gone
way.
and it was locked. And then I have to go and unlock the gate for them. I don't, I want it all to be, you know.
So it sounds like you handled it perfectly.
Yes. But the other thing I was going to say is regarding religion.
Yeah.
Our kid has been singing a song lately.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sing it.
Sing it. I think there's an explanation you're going to
Put my hands in the air. Wait, no. Hang on. Put my hands over my head in the air, like Jesus said. And so that's been being sung a lot.
Yeah.
And while you were gone, our kid had a guitar lesson.
Yeah.
And which is here at the house. And as the guitar teacher was leaving, it's a grown man.
Yeah.
Very nice. A friend of ours. He's walking around the house to get out. Singing it like with our kid.
Yeah.
But it was just jarring hearing it in this like man's baritone loud voice.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And then I was like, what makes he of this being sung? And then they've been watching this show a lot.
Yeah.
And just now when I walked out to come podcast, the characters are at a church.
Sure.
Like it's it's all just kind of throwing me for a loop. Nothing against, like people might be hearing this and being like, good. And by the way, we talk about Jesus sometimes and what a cool guy he was and how he was so, I do. Like I talk about like how he was so kind to people and there were people who were being bullied and he like pulled that person over and washed their feet and like took care of the people who other humans were not kind to. I mean, Jesus was an awesome person by all accounts. So
let me pause you for one quick second.
Okay.
I might be wrong about this, but I got the impression from our kids that song is in the Wednesday Addams Family series on Netflix.
Oh.
And kids are singing it at school.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's where the song comes from.
Got it.
Which makes so much sense.
Yes.
But back to Jesus. Good guy, yeah.
Great guy. Like, we all should strive to be more like him, I think.
So here's my thought on religion after being in Boise, Idaho for a weekend. There's like a church by my brother's house that is under construction, and somehow it came up when we were driving by, and he was like, oh yeah, they've been working on that for 3 years. Wow. Like it's taken a while. The Lord, has his own timeline, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of churches. I'm just noticing all these churches around driving by.
Yeah.
And no offense, Boise churches, but a lot of them don't look very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Not the kind of house of worship I want to go to.
Mm.
And it got me thinking.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge opportunity here. Listen, a huge opportunity.
Uh-huh.
We also drove by a couple big mega churches, which listen, it's a big building. I'm sure they're fine, but I feel like I know exactly what they look like inside.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know what like the amazing cathedrals in Europe look like inside. I know what they look like in New York, St. Christopher's or whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
I've been
all over the world.
Many
gorgeous
cathedrals, churches, and I feel like back in the day, there was a lot of effort that went into making these
artistry.
Yes, and there's famous designers that have worked on these churches and cathedrals and houses of worship in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
How come no one's coming with the fresh look on that's making a new church that really is like, you have to see this to believe this? That seems like it would be the easiest marketing to get your church going and have people get to it.
Can I tell you why?
Please.
Okay, brace yourself.
Okay.
Toxic masculinity.
What?
These churches are run by these straight, patriarchal, vanilla, boring men
Okay.
who don't like to be interested in art and creativity and beauty in that sense is considered effeminate or like, so these people who are running these types of places in Idaho,
Mm-hmm.
it's toxic masculinity.
And they
Strikes once again. It's taking even the beauty of houses of worship
and yet
from us.
so much. I mean, maybe we're making generalization with Catholic churches. So, are you saying they just hire the gay priests? The priests aren't in charge.
Well,
They don't let the priests help with the design.
But I don't know that many new Catholic churches are being built.
Well, it doesn't even have to be Catholic. That I'm saying, this is maybe even a better opportunity for a non-Catholic church. Like, imagine here's my pitch for someone to make. This is a slam dunk.
Okay.
Imagine a skyscraper.
Oh,
You
God.
go real tall,
Uh-huh.
and it's a cross.
Where does everyone gather?
Up top in the cross part is where your thing is, but it's like really tall.
The crown of thorns.
No, this is just a cross. We don't put Jesus on this cross.
Oh, okay.
That would be way too much of a sight. We're talking about a skyscraper-sized Jesus? No, that's intense.
Yeah.
Or is that?
Yes, no, it is.
But you're saying, like, maybe it's a very sleek skyscraper, but then, it goes up, then there's a cross, and it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like out in a fucking fields in the middle of nowhere. People would come from thousands of miles to see that.
I'm so jazzed by your passion, but I have a few holes to poke.
Okay.
One is the kind of like thing about skyscrapers is it's for like offices where there's like a lot of floors separated.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really like, that's not really conducive for like a gathering place of worship.
Let me wrap this in a way that you can wrap your head around it. You being a St. Louis girl, the Arch, the gateway to the West.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Have you ever been up in the Arch?
I have been up in the Arch.
It's a tiny space.
Right. So, hold on, bear with me. But you can imagine something arch size, then where the T of the cross is, that being big enough to hold, like, I think you could make it that it could hold 1,000 people.
In one long line?
No. Have you been in a building before?
What?
You're making it sound like that the room is only like 10 feet wide by like 100 feet wide.
I'm imagining, Andy, cross. Here's what I'm imagining.
I feel like I'm going to have to like sketch this out.
I'm imagining in a field of wheat, a big silver skyscraper
Okay.
cross. And I guess you'd have some support on the outside of the arms, right?
No.
Okay.
No. That's what's awesome about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So it is an engineering feat. But I think I've seen way crazier engineered things than that.
okay.
Yeah.
But the length of the cross, if this is as big as I think it is, like you're going to have 1,000 people. And I assume the elevator's in the part that goes up and down.
Yeah, come on, where else would it be?
Like there's just, so are you imagining that someone's at one end of the cross speaking to 1,000 people that are going all the way down to the other end of the arms?
Whoa, I haven't thought of it like that, but that would totally work.
No, it wouldn't.
Yes, it
No,
would.
it wouldn't.
Imagine. I don't understand. You're actually just making this more and more plausible, where you think you're making it less and less plausible.
Okay.
I almost feel like I'm just gonna have to like draw it for you. The building would
I'm
be,
fairly sure I know exactly what you mean.
but even
You're
we are
very
talking.
clear. A big cross is that people could be inside of
Mm-hmm,
in the middle of a field.
mm-hmm. and it looks beautiful / awesome / maybe we go futuristic / unlike anything I've ever seen before. You have to see this thing.
The way you just spread out your arms was very like Jesus.
You don't think? No?
And I'm going to say no, and here's another thing. Like, these, I guess during the Super Bowl, I didn't watch it, but there were.
You didn't see the ad?
But, the fact that some church had however many hundreds of millions of dollars to spend on an ad.
Yeah.
They could have spent on feeding all the children in this country. They could have spent on eradicating homelessness in multiple cities. They could have spent on literally a million other better things.
Gotta spend money to make money.
How many people do you think saw that ad?
I saw it and my jaw was on the goddamn floor.
Why?
You almost just have to look. I think if you do Jesus Super Bowl ad, and I forget the name of the organization, was maybe like He Knows or something, but it's basically, it's all black and white, and it's a photo montage basically of like COVID times of showing all these crazy intense images of, riots happening, stuff maybe from Black Lives Matter happening, and it's showing both sides, right? It's showing both sides getting angry and upset, and you're like, whoa, this is intense. Our kids saw it, and we're like, whoa, and they looked the other way. Mm-hmm. It's intense. It's visually like,
jarring.
What is this going to be? It almost feels like, whoa, someone at Nike, this better have a incredible payoff, right?
Yeah.
Like this, like what is the twist at the end? Like it felt almost like a Nike ad gone way wrong in the ideas booth. And then it gets to the end and it's like, oh, this was a Jesus thing. And it's like, whoever conceived of this, great. It got people talking, but I am not a fan of this ad.
Well,
and it's basically like, see all this crazy shit happening to everybody. Jesus loves all these people. The horrible, conservative guys storming the Capitol. He loves you. He also loves, you over here. He
the
loves
person
everybody.
who wants equal rights.
He loves
the
you
horrible
too.
person who wants everyone.
Yeah.
I am absolutely appalled at that. And so I'm just going to say, as much as I would love for you to watch your
my vision,
architecture
my life's work
your life's work come to fruition, I feel like it's such a waste of resources that could be put to use in a way that Jesus himself would want.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
I mean, on this front, I think it's worthwhile to point out that, like, your family did 23andMe and found out this weekend that your father is 98.6% Ashkenazi Jewish. Like, as high of a Jewish heritage as you get, almost. So, this feels a little, I don't know, out of left field.
What do you mean?
I guess Jesus was Jewish.
Yeah, and I'm half. My mom is French and German.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And Italian.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot. Now, your dad, what is it? Polish? Is it?
It was mostly like
Russian.
It was mostly Polish, Ukrainian, Belarus. That kind of Russia. Yeah. Like that
that's cool.
Area. Yeah.
Cool. It's interesting. I'm a similar blend.
What's your blend?
Czech.
Yes.
And French.
Yes. I was surprised on the 23andMe for my mom. It did say, I've grown up with my mom saying I'm French and German.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So on 23andMe, I thought it would be like, you're this percentage German, this percentage French. But it was like, you're 73% French and German.
Huh.
Which I guess they're so close to each other. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think that's God. We have so much more to cover. We've barely scratched the surface. I'm glad we spent. That was great. Anyway, everyone, to all of our new listeners, this is kind of what it is. I wish I could promise more. But this is what it is. Thank you for joining us. everyone can support the show and keep your eyes peeled for a Gunther's Millions specific bonus app coming up, as well as Andy's going to somehow figure out how I can crush all of your asses in Mario Kart. On patreon.com/totally lame. You can also access that through our link tree.
Yeah.
And Andy posts fun, sometimes animated, sometimes not, videos on our Instagram at Nobody's Listening Right.
Awesome. Thanks
All right.
for listening, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Nobody's listening, right?